So a federalized system of student aid is one thing, because that's been the federal government's role for a long time. The book is careful to not, well, I think very much acknowledges the growing federal role and the problem/bad choices that states are making. It's careful to include caveats about the traditional sort of primacy of states in funding and regulating higher education, and it uses the phrase national system, not federal system. Let me push you on that a little bit. I mean, to the extent that we have problems, it's the existing state arrangement that got us there, and one can certainly point to evidence that says that we're not even at a steady state right now. We're in decline in terms of how states are essentially handling their roles as the funders and regulators of our national higher education enterprise, non-system, whatever you want to call it. And so why not say, it's a new era, let's have the federal government is increasingly the funder of last resort. Every dollar that falls out ends up showing up in loans or grants or something. So what is too far for the federal government in terms of its engagement with higher education policy?
Well, I guess my answer to that is that the one place the feds, the states had the historical, constitutional, and institutional role. They built many of these campuses. I remember when VMI, which is a public institution, was being forced to admit women and didn't want to admit women. And the good old boys who were the alums figured out they could get enough money to operate the place privately. They announced they were going to privatize, and the governor of Virginia said, well, you forget, we built the campus, and that's worth $340 million. So you pay us back, and then you can privatize. So this privatization language, which is what some people are using at the state level now, at UVA, we consciously never use that word, even though it's close to the reality of things. We just don't talk that way. I think this book, rightly or wrongly, does not want to let the states off the hook. We feel that these are their institutions. Many of them, even the private institutions within a state, are embraced in various ways in the state structure. And we didn't see the feds, the feds we didn't see as an answer financially. In fact, in one place I've written that the feds are really doing quite a bit right now. The Pell Grant may not be sustainable, but it's certainly gotten way up from where it used to be. It used to be stuck at about, $6 billion or something, and now it's at 35 or something. The loan program, I think, has got to be a fed. That makes no sense to have states fooling around with loans. But we were not about to let the states off the hook, and we continue to have some. Most of our recommendations really point to the states more than they do to Washington. That may be a bad bet. As it turns out, the best bet of all in the last 30 years was on the stock market. If you were a private institution, you had I remember in the late 60s and 70s, we thought the private sector was about to go under because the states looked like they were just taking the whole system, and not the case at all. The private, now the top wealthiest institutions in the country are now private. So these bets are big bets that you place on what you think will work. But I think most states are going to still continue to play an important role.